Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. We're going to literally deconstruct exactly why those cheap roadside motels totally strip away our standard layers of security. We often think of these places as just mere conveniences, but when you take away the bustling lobbies, the security cameras, and the interior hallways of a standard hotel, you're left with an incredibly raw, vulnerable environment. Picture this, all right? You're absolutely exhausted on a long road trip. You see that glowing neon sign, and honestly, all you want is a cheap bed. You know the place looks a bit rough. Maybe half the exterior lights are burnt out, and there are barely any cars in the lot. But as we're going to see today by analyzing 3 incredibly harrowing, first-hand accounts, that sheer desperation for sleep can make you completely ignore your basic survival instincts, leading you right into a trap. So, Section 1, the midnight pit stop, which is a pretty universal vulnerability. It's a scenario almost all of us have found ourselves in, right? But here's the dark irony. While 90% of us just want to save a few bucks or avoid driving through the night, these environments uniquely attract individuals you would absolutely never want to cross paths with. You might accidentally be signing up for that terrifying 10%. Let's look at exactly how. Okay, let's get into case study 1, the mimic. This one is pure psychological dread. Our first account comes from a solo driver traveling down from New York to Tennessee. He's totally exhausted, pulls off somewhere in Virginia, and checks into this bare-bones room at 1 a.m. At first, he's just kind of annoyed by what sounds like a couple arguing next door. One deep voice, one high-pitched. But at 1:30 a.m. comes this chilling realization. There's absolutely no overlap between the voices. The timing is impossibly perfect. It's actually one mentally ill man mimicking both voices with unnatural precision. And then, the arguing stops, and the knocking begins. Just sit with the absolute creepiness of those exact words. I hear you in there. Spoken right through the thin motel wall, literally right beside the narrator's bed. The man next door was just knocking on the wall and saying this in a playful, incredibly creepy voice, just waiting for an acknowledgement. And man, the physical threat mounts rapidly here. The guy actually leaves his adjacent room. Our narrator hears the footsteps on the exterior balcony. When he finally gathers the courage to peek through a tiny crack in the blinds, the man is standing right there, face pressed close to the glass, his eyes wide open. He then moves to right outside the front door, looking in while practicing a bizarre, terrifying array of voices, ranging from a childish high pitch to an angry southern accent. Then comes this aggressive, rhythmic knocking that literally shakes the door. So the narrator finally calls the front desk, and a worker comes up, which prompts the guy to speed walk back into his room. But the crucial point here is the worker's incredibly casual response. This guy is actually a long-term resident. Management moves our narrator to a downstairs room near the front office for safety. But the psychological trap was already set. We know this because, shortly after, the exact same man calmly paced past the new downstairs window, methodically walking back and forth in the dark, just watching the room until dawn. Moving on to case study 2, the target. And this one involves a highly coordinated threat. Our second case involves a college freshman on a road trip with her family, all women, stopping for the evening. Now, broadcasting your location in a bare-bones environment like this instantly turns you into a target. In a small, quiet motel lobby, the sister answers her phone and innocently states the room number out loud. Standing right there is a man in a black knitted sweater who hears the whole thing, making prolonged, deeply unsettling eye contact as they leave for dinner. And when the family returns exhausted at 11 p.m., repeating this simple error leads to an immediate escalation. The lobby is mostly dark now, but that same man is sitting silently in a far back corner doing absolutely nothing. The phone rings again, and incredibly, the room number is spoken out loud a second time. The man immediately gets on his phone and begins whispering, signaling that a trap is being actively set based on the exact information he just collected. Suddenly, the situation explodes into a highly coordinated ambush. Up on the second floor, the stepmom opens her door and finds a man standing flat against the wall outside. He calmly walks into the empty room located exactly between the family's 2 rooms. They immediately panic, pack their things, and flee. As they run to their car, they see a second man outside checking car windows. Then, the creepy man from the lobby walks out, signals, and a third man appears. The 3 men begin slowly walking right toward the family's car. The victims only narrowly escaped by speeding away into the night at 3 a.m. Now for case study 3, the Watcher. This one brings a sense of almost paranormal dread. Our final case involves a couple driving down to Florida who stop late in the night. The girlfriend is fast asleep in their ground-level room. Well, when the boyfriend steps out to his car at 1 a.m. to grab a charger, he leaves the door cracked open. The moment he unlocks his car, the front office lights abruptly cut out, plunging the entire property into total darkness. He turns around to find a massive, eerie figure standing right by his cracked open door. He's wearing a heavy trench coat, and his massive physical presence is this terrifying contrast to his unbelievably soft, calm voice. The boyfriend intercepts him, asking what he's doing walking around so late, and the man offers this seemingly innocent excuse. "Oh, I'm staying upstairs, just going for a stroll." But you guys, this excuse becomes utterly terrifying when we look at what happens the exact moment the boyfriend goes back inside and locks the door. 10. That is the exact number of agonizing minutes the boyfriend spent crawling on his knees on the dirty motel floor, watching through a tiny gap in the curtains as the massive man in the trench coat simply stood outside. He didn't walk away, he didn't pace, he just stood completely motionless, staring point blank at their closed door. The tension is just unbearable. When the boyfriend finally wakes his girlfriend up and begs her to look out the window so she'll actually believe him, she takes a peek and delivers this heart-stopping realization. The space in front of the door is entirely empty. But that relief, it lasts for literally less than a second. Imagine the sheer panic of realizing a predator knows exactly what you're doing. The boyfriend looks out the window again, scanning the property. The massive man in the trench coat hadn't left at all. He had simply relocated all the way across the dark parking lot and was now standing perfectly still, staring directly back into their specific window. He knew exactly what he was doing. The couple spends the rest of the night wide awake, terrified, clutching a blunt object, and the tension peaks with this ultimate reality-shattering twist from the front desk the next morning. When they return the key, the owner tells them there are no security cameras, and she drops this absolute bombshell. Meaning whoever that massive man was, he definitely did not belong there. He was just roaming the dark, empty property, looking for an opportunity. Which brings us to Section 4, the ultimate motel takeaway, going over some crucial survival lessons. Let's extract the critical survival lessons from these nightmares, because honestly, understanding how these threats operate is how we stay safe. These are the practical, life-saving rules for when standard hotel security is completely stripped away. Saying your room number out loud, that gives predators a map straight to your bed. Leaving your door cracked is practically an invitation for someone hiding in the dark. And perhaps most importantly, an empty motel doesn't mean you're safe. It means if someone does target you, you are completely on your own. This quote from our first case study really is the perfect summary of what we've learned today. By removing the normal barriers of entry that standard hotels have, these isolated roadside stops inadvertently become giant magnets for those lurking on the fringes of the night. So, here's my question for you. Will you double-check the locks on your doors tonight? Because after exploring how quickly a simple road trip pit stop can turn into an isolated fight for your life against unseen predators, I know I certainly will. Keep these lessons in mind the next time you see a glowing neon vacancy sign off a dark highway, and seriously, stay safe out there.